This is the newsroom for Friday, February 26, 2021. We're broadcasting to you on E1, Scar TV, NTN, and Tarzi TV in Bartica. In the headlines, Guyana to get 80,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines from India next week. The Georgetown Public Hospital successfully completes a life-saving surgery of a young mother who donated a kidney to her 15-year-old son.
I will go back on my normal life as well because I feel great right now.
The nationwide curfew to curb the spread of the coronavirus has been extended as cinemas remain closed. The Minister of Housing, Colin Crowell, blasts the APNU AFC for building duplexes but not amending the legislation which left homeowners in turmoil. And in sport, Cricket Ombudsman postpones Guyana Cricket Board election in the interest of fairness. And Guyanese Kevin Sinclair gets maiden West Indies call-up. With the news, I'm Kurt Campbell. We're glad you can join us. First up, the government of India will be donating 80,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines to Guyana, and according to the Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, these vaccines are expected here sometime next week. The minister made the announcement during his daily COVID-19 update on Friday. The Indian government has pledged some 500,000 doses of the vaccines to the Caribbean region, and Guyana is receiving its doses of the jab from this tranche.
And with COVAX, we haven't really seen that rapid deployment yet of vaccines. We are hoping that by sometime maybe next week that we'll start seeing vaccines coming to the region, and hopefully we'll shortly thereafter be able to get adequate doses as was promised through the mechanism. You know, COVAX has said to us that they would give us vaccines for at least 20% of our population during this year. So we're working towards getting those vaccines. In addition, the government of India has been generous enough to allocate vaccines to the Caribbean in general. I think they have allocated about 500,000 doses to the Caribbean. And in that allocation, Guyana is going to get 80,000 doses. And those doses we are expecting would come into Guyana sometime next week. We are now working on the exact date and time when those vaccines are going to arrive, but we're getting a donation from the government of India of 80,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine.
We tell you now that the government of Guyana has extended the COVID-19 measures for the month of March, which means that restrictions against social activities remains in place and the 10:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew is still in effect. In the updated measures published in the official Gazette on Friday, the restriction on private parties, wedding receptions, wakes, and the usage of hotel pools remain in effect. Despite their pleadings, the restriction on cinemas also remain in place. Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, had previously revealed that cinemas were told to install HEPA hair filters in order to be granted approval to reopen for business. Cinema owners have been calling on the government for some time now to grant them approval to reopen, as many jobs in the industry have been lost due to the continued closure since March 2020. They contended that international studies have shown that cinemas continue to be areas of low risk of transmission for COVID-19, noting that all other countries in the West Indies and the Caribbean have authorized cinemas to reopen except Guyana. Meanwhile, in the updated national COVID-19 measures published on Friday the 26th, the government said businesses and entities which are allowed to operate, including bars, restaurants, places of worship, and other commercial businesses, are to follow all COVID-19 guidelines for safety. After her 15-year-old son was diagnosed with end-stage renal failure and was told that only a transplant would save his life, his mother agreed to be his donor and was the perfect match. The transplant surgery was done successfully at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation on February 8, and now both mother and son are able to lead a normal life. This was also the first transplant surgery done at the public institution for the year. Isanella Patwa has the details.
It felt great because I know to myself I'm doing something good, which is for Aditya, and I think the viewer out there should not be afraid to be a donor they should come forward and be a donor. Support the family or friends, whoever needed a kidney or so on. They should go forward. Don't be scared. It's nothing to be scared of. And actually, I'm feeling proud right now. And I'm happy that Aditya could go back on his normal life. And I will go back on my normal life as well because I feel great right now. I'm happy.
From his diagnosis to finally doing the surgery and all the runarounds and all of that, how do you feel now?
I have no words. Words cannot explain right now, but just I'm feeling so excited and happy to go back on my normal life.
That was Nadia Boudoir, a young mother of two and a donor who saved the life of her 15-year-old son, Aditya Mohabir, by donating one of her kidneys. The teenager of Bryceland, West Bank, Demerara, was diagnosed with end-stage renal failure in August last year, and prior to the surgery, he was surviving on weekly dialysis treatment.
I'm speaking on behalf of himself, Aditya. He excited because he can't wait to go home and, show people that what he went through. And now he get back a normal life. He proud to show off right now.
The mother said she is also happy to return to some form of normalcy. However, it will be a few months until she is fully back on her feet. During a media briefing at the Georgetown Public Hospital on Friday, she expressed immense gratitude for persons who supported her and her son throughout this journey.
I would like to say thanks to the member out there, thanks to everyone who supported me throughout the dialysis and so on. Thanks so much, and continue doing the good work. Look out for others out there and do the same thing that you do to me. Help me out. So thank you all.
The transplant was done successfully by Head of Department for Multi-Organ Transplant and Vascular Access Surgery, Dr. Kishore Prasad, and his team from the Georgetown Public Hospital. While the mother was told she was a perfect match for her son, the surgery, which was scheduled for early January, was further pushed back after abnormalities were found in the cross-match test.
There's something called a flow cross-match that we do before to test the compatibility. And that test is done in Miami, at the University of Miami, in their transplant lab. So what they found that the cross-match was negative, so that she could have donated. But they found something called a class 2 antibody that that could have prevented this transplant. So what the lab did, they rerun the test, and when they rechecked it, they found it was antibody to abnormal protein. And once they would have verified that and they cleared that up, then they advised us to then proceed with the transplant.
Also present at the media briefing on Friday was Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony, who noted that over the last 2 months a team has been meeting to put together the new legislation to guide human organ transplant surgeries. The Human Organ Transplant Bill is expected to be presented in Parliament on or before May 2021. This legislation will greatly assist persons in dire need of transplants but have no donors, and will also alleviate the financial burdens of dialysis treatment. While there is no renal registry, Dr. Prasad said from observation, over 150 patients access dialysis centers throughout the country, and of which 75% need a transplant but have no donors. Reporting for the Newsroom, I am Isanella Patwo.
Still ahead on the Newsroom, the Minister of Housing blasts the coalition for building duplexes but not amending the legislation, which left homeowners in turmoil. You're watching the Newsroom. Lambasting what he said was the APNU-AFC's coalition's big idea for the housing sector during its one term in government, Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell on Friday told the National Assembly that the dozens of duplexes built by the coalition lack the legislative support it needs. Crowell, who was at the time making his contribution to the ongoing budget debate, said the APNU-AFC butched its own great idea when it failed to amend the Condominium Act.
Even when the coalition had one big idea for housing, even that they could not get right. Their big idea, let's introduce duplexes. And they proceeded to have contractors construct duplexes, but they did not think to have the Condominium Act amended to include this type of house.
That was Minister of Housing and Water Colin Crowell during his contribution to the ongoing budget debate in the National Assembly. Failure to amend the Condominium Act, Crowell explained, has resulted in the homeowners who invested in the duplexes failing to secure insurance and titles for the properties. He said the commercial banks in Guyana have also refused to hold the duplexes as collateral for loans and other transactions.
The result is, Mr. Speaker, those citizens who invested their hard-earned dollars into these houses cannot get insurance or titles. And even more worrying is that the banks are not amenable to holding duplexes as collateral. How could any Minister of Housing with an ounce of sense allow this to happen?
Crowell announced that within the coming months, the Attorney General will bring before the National Assembly legislation that will correct the situation. Crowell said once the legislation is amended, it will also allow the homeowners to proceed with the lawful expansion of their properties. Crowell boasted that the People's Progressive Party Civic always made housing a priority.
Even though they inherited a robust housing and water sector, it was plunged into chaos for 4 years. And so it falls to us, this PPPC government, to once again rescue the housing sector. By mid-year, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Legal Affairs will be bringing legislation to amend the Condominium Act to allow banks to accept titles for those houses, insurance companies to issue policies to those homeowners, and more importantly, to allow these homeowners to access loans for expansion.
Minister Crowell said the PPPC government is now focused on returning Guyana to glory by rebuilding the housing sector. A total of $8.9 billion has been set aside in the 2021 budget for the housing sector, of which $6 billion will go towards infrastructure and utility works. Crowell said this will occur in all regions as the government looks to open up new housing schemes in several areas already earmarked. Minister Crowell also announced the construction of core homes in Parfait Harmony, West Bank Demerara, and Sophia, Greater Georgetown. We tell you now that a 22-year-old laborer was on Friday remanded to prison for the murder of a 72-year-old man who was burnt alive at the Hock Sing supermarket at Enmore, East Coast, Demerara last week. Marcos Sudat of 4th Street Fowles appeared before Magistrate Fabio Zur at the Vigilance Magistrates Court and was not required to plead to the capital offence, which alleged that on February 22nd he murdered Matura Etwaru, a pensioner. Magistrate Zur adjourned the case to May 18, 2021. An employee attached to the supermarket made the gruesome discovery of Etwaru's body after reporting for work. Etwaru was found lying on the northern side of the compound with severe burns about the body. Police, upon reviewing CCTV cameras at the supermarket and nearby buildings, saw that the two men were involved in an argument at around 02:46 hours. Sudat, who was seen holding and pushing Etwaru to the ground, he then picked up empty cardboard boxes, lit them on fire, and placed them on Etwaru at around 3:12 hours. Sudat rode away from the scene on his bicycle. A postmortem revealed that Etwaru died from severe burns about his body and compression to the neck. President Irfan Ali on Thursday disclosed that CARICOM has prioritized agriculture and food security and has created a pathway to enhance their overall development in the region. The head of state was one of several regional leaders who spoke at the closing press conference of the 32nd intersessional meeting of CARICOM heads of government, which was held over the last 2 days. High on the agenda of the 32nd intersessional meeting of CARICOM heads of government was the creation of an action plan to facilitate the necessary advancement of agriculture and food security in the region. President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, believes that this country can help in this regard. To ensure greater food security, Dr. Ali said the entire value chain needs reviewing, while at the same time improving member states' capacity and output to make agribusiness sustainable for the region.
To achieve this, we discussed responsibilities of governments within the region and the region itself in terms of the way we craft our national budget, ensuring that we outline targets, strategic targets in our national budget to support agricultural development, to support increase in yield, to support agribusiness and agri-processing.
Reporting on the discussions, President Ali noted that the various heads of state examined some of the barriers affecting inter-regional trade and the movement of agricultural products. He added that once the barriers were identified, the decision was taken to work through a regional ministerial task force along with private sector organizations and the subcommittee of CSME CARICOM Single Market Economy to devise an action plan. This plan would not only remove the existing barriers but identify specific areas to develop a strategic approach to achieve the projected outcome.
For example, the poultry industry, where we can develop a strategic approach to achieve the outcomes I spoke of. We spoke of the transportation network, how we can better improve transportation within the region, mobilization of international resources, our comparative advantages as different states, and how it can help us in our collective advantage.
The two-day meeting also advanced the regional agenda on food and nutrition security that has become increasingly challenged by a number of factors, including the COVID-19 pandemic. The heads of government also examined the status of implementation of the CSME and the outstanding issues which needed to be resolved to ensure that full benefits from the CSME are realized. The participants likewise deliberated on the framework for a joint tourism policy for CARICOM, which will, among other things, seek to address the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the region's tourism industry and the impact of tourism-related revenue reduction on the region's overall economic performance. The meeting also considered recommendations from the CARICOM Commission on the region's economies. The commission was recently reconstituted and mandated to provide advice on implementable solutions to build resilience and push CARICOM economies along the path of sustainable growth and development. Discussions also surrounded CARICOM's relations with the new United States administration regarding matters related to reparations and regional security. When the newsroom returns, 2 frontline workers who took the COVID-19 vaccines report mild side effects and are encouraging others to take the jab. Stay tuned. Just over 2 weeks ago, Guyana received its first dosage of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, Complements of Barbados, which it used to immunize some 1,400 frontline healthcare workers. There have been no severe side effects reported by any of the health workers who took the jab, and it is hoped that this will encourage Guyanese to take the vaccine when more arrives. The newsroom spoke with 2 frontline workers who took the vaccine. Jermaine Hutton, a 4th-year medical student attached to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, and Danielle Niles, a nurse and ward manager also attached to the Georgetown Public Hospital. They both shared that they have not experienced any prolonged or serious side effects after being vaccinated.
Hi everyone, I am Jermaine Hutton, a 4th-year medical student at the University of Guyana School of Medicine. Apart from being a medical student, I'm also a full-time teacher, a teacher of science. I am attached at the Chases Academic Foundation right here in Georgetown. I got vaccinated, it was on a Friday. I can't remember the exact date, but I got vaccinated. I think it was the 3rd day of the rollout from the Ministry of Public Health. Being a medical professional, you would have an understanding that vaccinations are very vital for immunity. And so when we got the opportunity, when the medical students were told that we can actually go and collect the vaccines, we were excited. First of all, we went up and go and check what vaccines were available here in Guyana. We saw it was the AstraZeneca, and then we said, you know what, definitely let's go with Oxford. And we went and we were excited to get that vaccine. These side effects that I experienced were minimal, other than the usual pain to the injection site, swelling, some mild edema, swelling. There were nothing else that was dramatic on my side effects. I would have experienced a slight flu-like symptom earlier on. It lasted for about an hour, and after that, it was pretty much like a normal day for me. And the vaccine is really the only way to get out of this pandemic. So we should not waste the opportunity. Don't hesitate, vaccinate.
My name is Danielle Niles. I'm a ward manager here at GPHC. I've been a nurse for over 11 years now. Attached to Georgetown Public Hospital, I'm now the manager in charge of the intensive care unit. I have had my COVID vaccine, my first dose of the AstraZeneca COVID vaccine over 2 weeks ago. And for me, it was a painless effort. On the eve of taking the vaccine, I had a mild temperature, which is expected of any vaccine. And after that, I had no other adverse reactions. I'm feeling okay. The reason I took it is because I'm a healthcare worker. And as a healthcare worker, I am more prone or subjected to infections more than the ordinary man. And this is not only to protect me, but also to protect my patients whom I work with on a daily basis, and also to protect my family members. On the evening, after I took the vaccine, the evening when I went home, I had a mild temperature. It was about 99 degrees Fahrenheit. But I was not worried. I took 2 Panadols, as well, 2 Panadol tablets, as I was encouraged to do, and I had no other. The temperature went away within a matter of hours, and I had no other adverse effects. But let me put it out there that it's normal to have an elevation in temperature after taking a vaccine. That is a normal reaction. Like in everything, there's a lot of hearsay and naysay about the COVID vaccine, but just think about it. When we are born, from the time we're born, we are subjected to take vaccine. There's a BCG vaccine that protects us from getting tuberculosis. There's a tetanus vaccine that protects us from getting in tetani. So just like that, the COVID-19 vaccine is a vaccine that helps to boost our immune system and helps protect, if not protect us from getting COVID-19, but protect us from the severity of the symptoms of COVID-19. So when you get a vaccine, it makes a memory on your DNA cells. So if you're ever exposed to the COVID-19 virus, your body already has a memory and your immune system fights off the virus. So you will not have a severe reaction to the virus. In the general public, this is COVID-19 is here to stay. It is real, as opposed to a lot of Guyanese think that COVID is not real, and it is affecting Guyanese population. So our government is making an effort to secure this vaccine for us, and I'm encouraging all Guyanese to have your shots, be vaccinated, and protect not only you but your family members around you. Think about the vulnerable population.
Over the last 3 months, some 213 Amerindian villages were able to access the Presidential Grant Fund, which allowed them to pursue sustainable village projects, Minister of Amerindian Affairs Pauline Sukai told the National Assembly on Friday. The Presidential Grant is one of the major interventions being undertaken by the government aimed at boosting economic and social development for Indigenous people in the respective villages and communities. But while those that benefited during the last quarter would have been catered for in the 2020 national budget, the minister announced that an additional $300 million has been set aside in the 2021 national budget. Sukai, who was speaking during the ongoing budget debate, said some 220 Amerindian villages are to benefit from the $300 million Presidential Grant Fund this year.
The only funding the AP and UAFC administration provided to the Amerindian villages was the Presidential Grant Fund, established by the PPP civic government under the leadership of the now Vice President Bharat Jagdeo. Mr. Speaker, in that 5 years, they did not even take the time to increase the presidential grant. In fact, Mr. Speaker, they put on conditions and requirements for accessing the presidential grant, that only a mere 40% of the communities and villages across the hinterland were able to access those funds to stimulate some level of economic activities in those villages. That is a complete shameful act. Today, Mr. Speaker, one of the first things that we have done was to encourage the village councils to collaborate with their residents and villagers to come up with the proposals and access the presidential fund without conditions and requirements. Mr. Speaker, I can stand here today and say that in the last 3 months, almost all the villages in the hinterland, 213 Amerindian villages have accessed the Presidential Grant Fund. And in this 2021 budget, Mr. Speaker, we have 300 million Guyana dollars, where another 220 Amerindian village, settlement, and satellites will receive those grants to stimulate their economy.
Parkrane will be hosting its second pop-up shop and brunch this Sunday, featuring amazing small businesses that operate locally. Persons are encouraged to join Parkrane on the East Bank of Demerara to choose from a variety of gift items, apparel, jewelry, perfumes, craft wines, art, and this time there will be tutors with whom you can discuss your children's educational needs. For more information on reservations, Parkrane can be contacted on telephone number 624-3666. When the newsroom returns, the financial, weather and bridge reports along with sport.
Welcome back to Newsroom. Now for a look at what's happening in sport. We're starting off with some cricket news. The Guyana Cricket Board election set for noon on Friday was put off to another date despite the presence of two of the three county boards, Berbice and Demerara, which constitutes a quorum under the Guyana Cricket Administration Act. Each board has 9 delegates and 15 delegates constitute a quorum. The Essequibo Cricket Board did not submit a list of delegates as boards were mandated to do by 16 hours on Thursday, February 25. The cricket ombudsman Kamal Ramkaran, who was otherwise engaged and arrived at the Umaniyana at 12 hours 45, told the delegates and media operatives that the Essequibo Cricket Board had raised some complaints on the issue of verification in an email to him on Thursday evening. This is what transpired on Friday.
I believe that on the issue of fairness, to be fair to the people who have raised contentions about the elections and about the process, that we should hold off on elections until such time as those complaints have been resolved, if not to the satisfaction of the people who are raising those complaints, at least objectively speaking, that everybody can be of the opinion that everything is clear on the above board, and if elections are held, there will be no contention. I believe that it is better, in light of the acrimony that exists in the cricket administration at the moment, that every complaint, no matter how small you may think it is, be dealt with, be listened to, be addressed in a fair and objective manner, so that when we do have elections, those elections can be without contention and without any cause for dissension.
Having regard to the fact, sir, that the Essequibo Cricket Board knew of this meeting, they were informed, it was publicized, signed by your good self, sir, and I honestly believe there's no reason why the election should not go on and bring an end to these prevalent trauma that has beset our cricket for so long. Sir, if there's anything you can do to assist in facilitating elections and having it done, you have our full support in that. I plead of you.
As you have said, 2 of the 3 cricket boards are ready, but there is one which is not. And I would like to do everything which is possible to bring that one prodigal son back into the fold so that everybody can be satisfied, so that everybody can participate, so that the elections of the Guyana Cricket Board, at which I am the returning officer, will go with the participation of everyone. You have waited for a long time for elections, and another short wait is not going to cause any irreparable harm, in my opinion. But the short wait can possibly bring a sort of coming together of the 3 cricket clubs, the 3 cricket boards in Guyana. Another one of the reasons why I wish to have these issues resolved is to avoid further contention in litigation. There is already a case going on. There have already been many cases. Courts are not the best way for the cricket administration to resolve these issues, in my opinion. Surely these issues can be resolved without courts, without further litigation, without further acrimony. And that is what I'm trying to do.
The Constitution in Schedule 1 states clear that you need 2 boards or 15 persons from the county boards. We have more than that under 2 boards. So I think we have a duly constituted meeting. And the fact that the court has dismissed their application to have the same thing that you're trying to do here is something that is undesirous, and I believe you should address it.
Issue which has arisen is not about the putting forward of delegates. In the email sent by Mr. Satram, attorney at law, to me, which I shared to you, Mr. Satram has raised the issue of my function of verifying registers. Now, I have seen no registers. I know that your elections were held pursuant to court order, and I believe the same is so for the Berbice Cricket Board. I do not believe the same is so for the Escobar Cricket Board. But if one of the functions of the Ombudsman is to verify registers, and the Escobar Cricket Board raises the issue of the verification of registers, if everyone were to agree, sure, registers are above board, then we could proceed. But if the Escobar Cricket Board has last night raised the issue of the verification of registers, I could not in good conscience proceed to elections in their absence in light of that allegation that there are issues to be resolved. I could not in good conscience proceed to hold elections.
Now, the law is clear. The minister sets the date for the fourth election, which the minister did. And so, in my mind, anybody to change that election must be the person who fixed it. And so, in the absence of the minister directing the Ombudsman that the election is not to be held today, the Ombudsman was bound under the law to conduct the election. If the Escobar Cricket Board or whichever cricket board chooses not to take part in the process, and the Ombudsman feels that he must give them some sort of avenue, that must be a legal avenue, because the Ombudsman is appointed under the law. So any function he exercises must be in accordance with the law. And there is nothing in the law to empower the Ombudsman to stop the election. Once you had a quorum of 15 members from 2 county boards, the election ought to have gone on today.
Now, Guyanese all-rounder Kevin Sinclair has earned his maiden call-up to the West Indies limited overs squads for the home series against Sri Lanka, which starts on March 3. Sinclair spoke to Cricket West Indies media and expressed that it is advice and work with his grandfather which have brought him success.
Yes, it is. I must thank the Almighty, giving me the health and strength to come out every day and guide me, because every day I ask him for guidance on the field of play, and it's a great feeling to be called up. And I must say, my grandfather for working day and night with me, because he's a security guard and he worked day and night with me. He even quarrel with me when I do good, just want to do good, and I just want to say this is for him, and I feel good to making him proud as well.
And what's your grandfather's name?
Carlton Sinclair.
Okay, and you said he worked with you day and night just to make sure that you got everything in place.
Yeah, and this is always his dream, me representing West Indies. So me being selected in the squad, that's gonna be, a dream come true for him, and all the hard work that he put in with me paid off.
Okay, and you said you're from Rose Hall, which is in Burby. So you've come a long way, as you said, and to be at this level alongside the likes of Pollard, Bravo, Chris Gale, players of that international caliber must be a special thing for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to learn a lot. I know most of the senior guys can help the youngsters in the squad, so I'm looking forward to learn as much as I can learn, and be up there in the future just like those guys,
And you said you were a batsman before and then you turned to slow bowling. So tell us a little bit about your bowling, which is your main skill, and then a little bit about your extra special batting.
Basically, my bowling has been going well for me. Very consistent with it. Back home was more limited over cricket, so basically I developed that batting and bowling skill. But I just want to stick with bowling for now. I represent Guyana under 19 and I do well with the ball. And with the bat now, coming into senior cricket, that's not going well for me. I'm looking to rectify that in the future by hitting more balls and stuff like that. But right now my bowling gets well left my batting, but I'm working on my batting same.
And you were a member of the West Indies emerging players that won the Super 50 a couple of years ago. So that's something that's really working. I mean, Joshua De Silva was in that squad, Keon Harding, they've gone, Jaden Seals, they've gone on to, international call-up. So it must have been a special group of guys in that squad.
Yeah, I must say that was a special group and a special moment for me playing my first Super 50 that year, 2019, and being EMER champion. That was a great moment for me. I must say hats off to Coach Floyd. He has worked with me tremendously during that period, and he still worked with me with pet talks and stuff like that for improve my game. So hats off to him. He got me to the stage I should stay, because he worked with all the players during that period, and we was champions. So yeah, hats off to him.
And finally, it's COVID environment, no fans in the stands. If you get a game, there'll be nobody to cheer loudly, but I'm sure there'll be many people back home in Guyana, all over Guyana, and especially in Berbice, who will be cheering for you. Who are your biggest fans?
Basically, I should say my cousin in the States, Kevin Darlington Kester. Numerous to mention, I don't want to leave anybody out there. I got support from USA, Canada, all over, but you know, it can be a special moment for all who supported me through my failures and through my success. So yeah, hats off to them.
And this is Kevin Darlington, played for Guyana, fast bowler.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you have rich cricket in blood.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
Now inspired by brilliant individual efforts from West Indies pair Shimron Hetmaya and Ramon Rifa and left-arm spinner Gudakesh Moti, Guyana Jaguars stormed into the final of the CG Insurance Super 50 Cup, whipping the Windward Islands Volcanoes by 95 runs in the second semi-final on Thursday in Antigua. Playing at the Coolidge Cricket Ground, Jaguars recovered from an early wobble to post 305 for 7 and then dismissed the Volcanoes for 210 to book their place in Saturday's final.
The COVID task force has given us an approval. Of course, that approval came with restrictions. We've been restricted to a number of spectators. So tickets are limited. We are pre-selling tickets. A lot of tickets sold yesterday. We have some sold. But however, we had met with e-networks and we came to an arrangement with e-networks that they will be streaming the event live for those who cannot make it to the arena on Sunday. They will have the access to look at it on the television and all of e-networks. Well, e-networks channel, which is channel 2, the Dream TV. They'll be pulling in Essequibo, in Martico. I'm sure that the track record will be shattered this weekend, this coming Sunday. You know, those of you who want to see the track record shattered this weekend, you know, you must pay attention, look at it on Streamline or be out there. But I can tell you the GTR, the white GTR, is the fastest I ever seen in the entire Caribbean. It's the fastest thing ever come across Guyana, I would say. As in regards to the super owner, he still have full confidence that he will win this entire overall event coming this Sunday.
And with that, we've come to the end of the news for this evening. Of course, you can find updates on these and other stories on our website, Newsroom.gy, our Facebook page and Instagram. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Avinash Ramzan. Thanks for watching. Be safe. Do have a great weekend. See you back here on Monday.